Hello, everyone. My name is Francisco Alcala, and I'm the West Coast Sales Manager at Farpointe Data. Before we begin, on behalf of the Farpointe team, we would like to let you know that we are thinking about you and that we wish you, your families, and your peers good health. We're all in this together, and we look forward to working with you in person soon. We would also like to thank you for tuning in for this 20-minute webinar session. The purpose of these webinars is to share valuable information regarding relevant topics within the access control industry. The goal is to keep these webinars within a reasonable amount of time while also allocating time for Q&A. If you have questions, please type them in the Q&A interface and we will address them at the end of the presentation. For this 20-minute session, we'll cover Farpointe's long-range access control ID solution, which is comprised of the Ranger receivers and transmitters. The presentation will focus on the full-feature products, specifically the WRT-2 two-button transmitter and the WRT-4 four-button transmitters, as well as the WRR-44 receiver. Although commonly used for parking, Ranger is ideal for any access control application where pressing a button is more convenient than presenting a card or entering a PIN. We will begin by highlighting some of the key features of the Ranger product line and review of popular use cases. Moving on, let's jump into the key features. As previously mentioned, Ranger consists of Farpointe's transmitter and receivers, and it is the product line that offers the longest read range. At the push of a button, Ranger offers up to 200 feet of read range. That's 61 meters delivered through a built-in trace antenna. The WRR-44 receiver ships with the read range set to the maximum of up to 200 feet, but it can be reduced by turning the on-receiver adjustment knob counterclockwise. And this is the blue dial pictured here. The read range is adjustable to comply with different security requirements. For example, an end user may not want to open their gate 200 feet away and run the risk of an unauthorized vehicle to cut in front of them, or if multiple receivers are installed at a site, the read range can be reduced to prevent cross reads and minimize the risk of opening unintended gates or doors. Even longer read ranges can be had by fitting the receiver with a separate remote antenna. And I have more information in terms of the type of antennas that we recommend, and I'll email that to you later. Part of the secret of Ranger's long range is the transmitter ships standard with a replaceable internal battery. It is a powerful lithium coin cell battery with an estimated 10-year life. If it ever needs replacing, the battery model is the CR2032 and it is widely available. Operation of Ranger does not require line of sight due to its 433 megahertz operation. Although obstructions may reduce some of the read range, the signal will travel through walls, buildings, trees, and other structures. In addition to the robust read range, Ranger offers a 360-degree radius or coverage. This means that it offers up to 200 feet front, back, left, right, as well as up and down. Ranger is simple to integrate with access control systems because transmitters are programmed with access control data, just like standard access cards. They can be programmed with all formats, custom or 26-bit Wiegand, and are supplied in the exact ID sequence and facility code ordered. This allows the transmitters to be enrolled and managed in the access control software the same way a standard access card is. Each user at a site will have a unique ID assigned to them, which allows the system administrator to run an audit trail report. Further simplifying integration, the receiver wires just like a standard access reader onto your preferred access control panel and supports either Wiegand or OSDP communication protocols. Ranger transmitters are available with the option of a built-in 125 kilohertz or 13.56 megahertz smart card chip, which enables the transmitters to be used like physical credentials. This allows end users to access a long-range application with the press of a button and then walk up to a traditional door reader and present the same transmitter as a physical credential. The same ID is outputted to the access control panel, whether a button is pressed or the transmitter is presented like a standard credential. Now, each receiver can control up to 4 different applications when it is wired to 4 different reader ports on an access control panel, and we'll explain this in greater detail next. When a transmitter is pressed, it will output the same weekend data, so the same format, same facility code, and ID, regardless of which button is pressed. Once the access control panel receives the access control data from the receiver, it will check with the access control software database to determine if access should be granted or denied. An access control system differentiates between which application to activate when a button is pressed due to the wiring configuration of the receiver. The WRR-44 receiver is designed with 4 different weekend outputs, 1 for each transmitter button. When the receiver collects a transmitter signal, it will determine which button it came from, and it will send the data via the corresponding weekend output to the controller. As demonstrated in the animation, the receiver board would collect the access control data received from button 1 and send it via channel A to a specific reader port on the access control panel. Likewise, the receiver will send the access control data from button 2 through channel B, the signal from button 3 through channel C, and the signal from button 4 through channel D. If a 2-button transmitter is used with the receiver, only the weekend output for channel A and B would be wired from the receiver to the controller to support buttons 1 and 2. Also, please note that the receiver would only require power and ground from one of the reader ports. So now that we reviewed the receiver and transmitter operation, let's review some popular use cases for Ranger. This first use case that we'll review is an office building, and it doesn't include a parking application because in this office layout, there's no restricted access to the parking area. This was actually the Ranger configuration used at Farpointe's previous facility. Here, the WRR-44 receiver is installed securely inside the server room next to the access control panel. Because of the 433 megahertz of the receiver, it doesn't have to be installed in line of sight. The Ranger receiver is also set to the maximum read range of up to 200 feet and can be installed in the center of the building because its 360-degree read range covers up to 400 feet in diameter. Again, 200 feet front, back, left, right, and top and bottom. Every Farpointe employee carried a WRT-4 4-button transmitter that gave them access to 4 separate doors. Button 1 gave access to the lobby entrance, which is pictured in application A. Farpointe's receptionist typically buzzed visitors in or let the mailman in by pressing button 1 on her transmitter. The advantage of buzzing in with the Ranger transmitter over having a relay button underneath the desk is that there will be a record as to who let someone in and when. Button 2 gave access to the primary side employee entrance pictured in application B. Button 3 gave access to the server room where the access control panel and receiver were installed. This is pictured in application C. And finally, button 4 gave access to the shipping area as shown in application D. Moving on, we'll discuss an industrial building use case. This next installation is an industrial facility, very similar to what an integrator's facility with the yard may look. In this case, there are 2 different WRR-44 receivers installed because one alone cannot offer the read range coverage for both the parking perimeter gate and the applications at the building. One receiver is installed inside the guard shack next to the gate, and the second receiver is installed inside the warehouse. Now, this is where the adjustable and extended read range can come in handy. First, an external antenna was added to the receiver for the perimeter gate to increase the read range and allow the barrier to be open with plenty of time in advance. And this was done to prevent a traffic jam on a busy main street, for example. Second, the read range on the receiver installed inside the warehouse was reduced to prevent cross-reading with the extended read range from the gate receiver. An employee carrying a WRT-4 4-button transmitter will be able to open the perimeter gate depicted in application A by pressing button 1 as they drive up to it. After the employee parks, they can press button 2 to gain access to the employee entrance shown in application B. This is a traditional access door, and there's no difference when handling a parking barrier or a traditional door. Instead of having to walk up to the intrusion alarm panel to present a card or enter a PIN to deactivate it, an authorized employee can press button 3 to disarm the alarm before they even walk into the building. An authorized employee can also arm the alarm by pressing button 3 on their way out. Please note that this application requires the intrusion panel to accept the Wiegand input to arm and disarm. Furthermore, Ranger can be used to trigger emergency or any type of alarm that accepts a Wiegand input. Lastly, a traditional proximity reader is installed at the main lobby entrance, and the transmitter can be presented like a traditional access credential here. The output from the button press and the transmitter being used like a traditional credential will look the same in the access control software. So there's no need to enroll multiple IDs per user. Moving on, we'll discuss what's become Ranger's most popular application, gated communities. Gated communities have been a very popular installation for the Ranger receivers and transmitters. Some homeowners associations have standardized on Ranger because they value the flexibility in handling long and short range access control applications and its reliable performance. In this scenario, we have a gated community like an apartment or condo complex with 2 gated access points on opposite ends of the complex. These are pictured in applications A1 and A2. There are 2 WRR-44 receivers installed near both gated access points, and tenants here carry a WRT-2 2-button transmitter under a keyring to access the gates as they drive up to them. Both gated access points consist of an entry and exit gate. The output from button 1 is used to access the entry gates, and the output from button 2 to access the exit gates. Buttons 1 and 2 can be used at either end of the complex because the receivers are installed outside each other's read range, and there wouldn't be any cross-reading. Once inside the gated community, the tenant can carry their keys and use the transmitter with the built-in proximity or smart card module like a physical credential to access various amenities throughout the gated community. For example, to gain access to the clubhouse, the pool area, fitness center, or laundromat. This concludes our Ranger More Than Parking webinar. We thank you for taking the time to learn about Ranger and hope that we were able to highlight the flexibility that Ranger offers for standard and long-range access control applications. More importantly, we hope that we were able to demonstrate how Ranger is truly ideal for any application where pressing a button is more convenient than presenting a card or entering a PIN. If you have a long-range access control project where Ranger may be applicable, please feel free to consult with Farpointe or preferred access control manufacturer. Also, please feel free to reach out to us at webinar@farpointedata.com if you're interested in setting up a private, more in-depth Ranger review for your sales or tech support teams. Hopefully you can join us for additional webinars, and we look forward to catching up with you in person soon. Please stay safe, and we'll open it up for questions. Thank you.